Hey guys, welcome back. Sports with Mono and Mono, and my partner is back from his assignment,
That is right. Welcome back, everybody. Nice to be back.
July 29th, 2019. Hot as the dickens on the East Coast here. Well, I don't know where you were, but it was pretty tough.
Hot. Hot, hot.
It was a Lionel Richie song, wasn't it? Hot, hot, hot. But welcome back, Steve.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
So let's say our opening segment sponsored by Coriano Trucking Incorporated, as always, and we thank them again.
We do. Thank you, Guy Coriano.
So let's talk this NFL training camp, because you and I have talked extensively offline about this holding out thing. And I guess there's three prominent guys. Well, I'm going to say two prominent guys.
Michael Thomas on the Saints being one.
One, obviously, you're number 21 on the Cowboys.
Who just apparently flew down to Cabo to kick back during negotiations. So
Escape from the heat.
I can't see him reporting until Monday of game week.
Okay.
Game one.
And this other one, Melvin Gordon, is this really a significant thing?
We talked Melvin a couple weeks ago.
I know, but I don't get it. I don't think he's.
Melvin should go to Cabo too and hang with Zeke, and because he's not going to get signed anytime soon either.
Yeah, I don't really get that one.
But this Michael Thomas on the Saints, this guy,
he's a real deal.
he is. He's been extremely productive. He's on the last year of his rookie deal.
Okay, and he's going to make 1.9 million or something. Okay, but that's your deal.
Sure, but again, we talked about the holdout. It's this time of year. I think a guy like Michael Thomas will probably get a significant raise, and it takes now the team has to maneuver some cap room and move some guys in and out, and guys can take a pay cut. They have ways of doing this, but a guy like Michael Thomas, I think, deserves to get paid. I don't. Again, we talked about holding out. We're not proponents of it.
Not at all. I mean,
listen, if you got to get your dough because of the non-guaranteed factor we've talked about with these NFL contracts, then you got to make your play to get that money up front.
But when your deal is signed, it's your deal, and then we'll talk about it. He'll get his money.
Yep.
But I don't get it. And this is, we're talking about the Saints. They're a Super Bowl caliber team. They're on the fringe.
I think they got robbed in the NFC Championship game last year, and perhaps would have advanced to the Super Bowl. Is that
There's been a little controversy on that. But I just, it drives me crazy. And I know Jerry Jones is going to buckle like he did with Emmitt Smith 21 years ago or whatever it was.
He's going to have to buckle, there's no question.
Right.
So looking at the Cowboy depth chart right now, Darius Jackson is the number 2 back, exactly. Who is Darius Jackson? Jim is doing some facial contortions as we speak. And followed by that, we drafted 2 running backs in this year's draft, Mike Weber from Ohio State and Tony Pollard from Memphis. So now you got 2 inexperienced kids back there.
Okay.
And I'm sure they'll bring somebody in, but to our original point, he's holding out. He's not signing till the first week of the season.
Yep.
No question. He probably will become the highest paid running back, would be my guess. But again, it's business as usual in July and August.
It just drives me crazy. And I wish they didn't buckle, but they're going to.
So for the New York Giants, their training camp has opened. And again, at wide receiver, they traded OBJ. First training camp without him, and they got the newly signed Golden Tate at the University of Notre Dame, and Eagle fame and Lion fame. And
9-year guy.
9-year guy, productive. Is he a number 1? No, he's a solid number 2 receiver.
Good returner, too.
Sure. And so what's going on with Golden Tate?
Well, I mean, listen, maybe the Giants are just snake bitten here, right? Because they trade Beckham, and now, of course, Coleman goes out. He's done for the year. Shepard breaks his thumb and whatever.
And now this.
And now this.
A 4-game suspension for fertility drugs.
I mean, you could pick up, some guys, on the scrap heap or
You could get the
something.
Wizinator back in the day. Forget who the original guy was, but the Wizinator in to the drug test. God, that had to be like 20 years ago. I'm trying to pull that name out. But I
What?
think a lot of people remember the story. Of,
What, Mandarich, maybe?
now, about the drug tests and having somebody substitute their urine, or you can put this Whizzinator on and make it look like. I believe he was African American descent, so I can't pull the name out. The Whizzinator, the original.
Oh,
So,
I can't get it either.
but anyway, Golden Tate getting suspended for 4 games really hurts the Giants. Here.
And we were just talking about it. I mean, yes, he does have this thing, the legitimate claim. He gave the NFL notice he was taking this fertility drug and so forth. Is it legitimate?
Guilty with an explanation, Your Honor. Okay, you're fined. Next.
Exactly.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, I don't see them overturning this.
No.
But yeah, it's unfortunate because that puts a lot more pressure on their marquee running back, who I think
We think
gonna-
it's a stud.
is a superstar. Superstar.
So the Giants off to a bad, rocky start with the wide receivers. The Jets have reported number 26 has finally made his debut in
Yeah.
gangrene, Mr. Le'Veon Bell,
Yeah.
who actually sent out a tweet today apologizing to all the fantasy owners out there last year that he let down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's reassuring to know that Le'Veon has assured everybody that this year he's going to
He will be the
making up
Le'Veon
for
of
it.
old. Yeah.
So
Right.
take comfort in that, Jet fans.
So listen, before we have to touch on this because it just rocked me to my core. This whole Tyreek Hill thing. I mean, they got him on audio. I mean, and we just talked about it before the show. They nailed Adrian Peterson years ago and didn't break his kid's arm, and and he gets this standing ovation at training camp. What is going on here?
Bizarro world, Jerry. Bizarro world.
But the NFL just gives this guy a free pass. I
Well,
mean,
they've investigated this. I don't think
here's
it's
the
over.
tape.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it sounds like the NFL is not doing anything about it. This has been under investigation now for months.
right. Since
It came
6
out.
months.
Yeah, it came out,
Yep.
and then the Chiefs automatically suspended him, and the police have looked into it, and now the NFL, I think, has pretty much looked at everything as well.
And he's cleared.
And as of now, it looks like he'll be on the field.
I mean, he's a dynamic player. I don't dismiss that, but there has got to be consequences. If you have a moral conduct clause in the collective bargaining agreement, this violates it.
Utilize it.
I don't get it.
Right.
I'm blown away by
But I
it.
think this story is to be continued. He's trying to be contrite, apologetic, this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
But, it's a disturbing story, no question.
Sure is. So let's move on to our baseball segment here, brought to you by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. And we say loyal. These guys have been loyal, so
He's
thank
loyal.
them.
Thanks, Mike Lynch.
So, you know what? It's been kind of a quiet trade deadline, and I expected a little bit more action. Maybe this will all pick up tomorrow.
I would think so.
I mean, the Stroman to the Mets was the biggest signing or trade.
No, there seemed to be some controversy that the Mets maybe gave up 2 top-tier prospects for Marcus Stroman. However, prospects are subject to interpretation. Just because the list says
I agree.
this guy is the 7th and 8th rated prospect,
I agree.
etc. They're 2 pitchers. One's 25 years old, has been in the system. The other one is a young kid. But yeah, listen, if you can get Stroman, I'm not going to kill the Mets on this.
I'm not killing them.
You get him for this year for the stretch run.
In
but
the major leagues now, anybody with
And
an
next year.
ERA under 3 is impressive to me,
sure, he's had a good.
right? Because everybody else wins Cy Youngs with a 4 point something. Obviously, Jacob deGrom notwithstanding from last year, but
Yeah,
you see an under 4 ERA. This kid's under 3.
yeah, but Stroman is a ground ball pitcher, and the Mets really don't have a top tier infield. But the conception or the perception, I think, people have is the Mets still think they're in it. I think the Mets are 6 games back of the wild card. just to be in contention. But I think it's a good move. They also just traded Vargas today to the Phillies, who's
Oh, God,
again,
he's gotten rocked left and
yeah,
right. I mean,
that's enough, and that's a dump right there.
but here's the only question I have about what their thinking is. You know, why are they so hell bent on getting rid of this guy Syndergaard? What am I missing here? What am I missing that this guy is going?
Well, I think Thor obviously is a good pitcher, but I also think he's an injury waiting to happen.
I think
this guy.
I think that's exactly what I was thinking. The same.
And
thing.
if they can move him before he breaks down and is back on Game of Thrones or something,
and you can get something for him, I guess.
I would entertain anything for him. Right? We talked about this. DeGrom is probably the only untouchable pitcher that the Mets have, and now
Shouldn't
that
even be under consideration.
yeah, so they got
getting rid of him.
Stroman. I think that's a good deal. I think the kid is a New York kid or something. Or
Yeah,
he's
Long
local.
Island.
Yeah, Long
Yeah,
Island.
Yeah.
So listen, they're trying to shore up their pitching. They're out of it. Let's be real.
They are totally out of it.
But again, if they are trying to acquire assets at the deadline, and we'll see what happens with Syndergaard. I'm sure teams are inquiring about that.
And I'm not sure why they're hell bent on considering getting rid of Wheeler either. I mean, maybe
Well, I
he's
think
gonna be
Wheeler's
starting
going to
to
be a
get-
free agent, I think, and it's time. They've had him in the system since, there was a big trade getting him. And
he's starting to mature, though. I see. I don't know.
yeah, but they're not going to pay him. So if the team needs him for the stretch run, he's an injury waiting to happen too.
I
He's been
know.
on the DL
Couple
quite
times.
a while.
Yeah, I
He's got
know.
shoulder issues and elbows and everything like that.
Right, but who wants to sign up for that? I mean, if we think that Syndergaard's a Tommy John
Waiting to happen.
waiting to happen, then it's got to be renowned around the league. But
So
no other big trades, though.
not
like
yet,
they
but
could
they're
say.
coming. I think there'll be a lot of activity tomorrow. So
What do you think? I mean, it's been a coin flip. You know, Bumgarner going or not going?
I think he's going. I think he wants to go. I think the Yankees. It just depends on
What they want from him?
that asking price by the Giants. So the Yankees are putting their cards on the deck, on the table. They're all in this year. It's 10 years since our last title. 10 years. '09 beat the Phillies. It's a big stretch for the New York Yankees. But they just got back from Boston after getting their asses handed to them by the Red Sox. Major League. This reminded me of the '78 Boston Massacre when the Yankees went up there and
Took care of
absolutely
them.
destroyed them. It was that bad. So the Red Sox
Yeah.
are playing good. Houston is formidable.
Yep.
And
I agree.
it's no easy task to get to the World Series this year. And then if you do, most likely you got the Dodgers sitting there waiting for you. And they're no joke either.
But I think it's just what you brought up, that they went up to Boston and just got absolutely annihilated. That must mean either Tanaka he's not right or something.
Tanaka gave up 12 earned runs.
I've never seen your number number one pitcher now or number two.
I can't remember
Severino
a prominent starting pitcher ever in my 54 years on this planet. 12 earned runs.
No,
And and Boone keeping them in there, right?
I don't know.
And they
why.
were freaking teeing off on him.
Oh my goodness.
But Mookie Betts, man, this guy has 3 home runs in a row and then pounds a double.
He's a stud.
He is a stud.
they got some talent.
So
on that
those
team.
bats are waking up. J.D. Martinez was quiet for him. I mean, he's on pace
He's
for
on fire
100,
now. He's on
RBIs, but he absolutely was worthy of MVP last year.
I thought he got robbed actually.
And I'm telling you, he's waking up, and Jackie Bradley and all
And who
this.
kills the Yankees more than this kid Benintendi,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
No,
this is,
he really does.
right.
And
There's
he did it
always
again.
there's always a Yankee killer somewhere, right? Who was
So-
it? David Ortiz.
Sure.
Was, you know.
So to answer your question, Madison Bumgarner, with what we just talked about in the road to the World Series, if you can get him, you're going to have to give up some of your top prospects.
But at least for the stretch run, because he's proven he's a playoff pitcher.
He has
beyond-
money in the playoffs, and that's what you're paying for. So do they pull the trigger on that? We shall see. I think it's, again, we'll know by tomorrow pretty much.
Well, listen, if they don't right this ship, I mean, this 9-game lead is going to start to dwindle.
But they've been playing well. It's baseball. It's hot. It's dog days of August are fast upon us.
And they're still hitting.
You have these pockets of 4-game losses.
Agreed.
This, that, and
It's
the
a long
other thing.
season.
So
And they're still hitting.
They got Arizona, I think,
Yeah.
tonight. So let's see what they do tonight,
Yep.
and we'll go from there. But
And-
I also noticed, what was it, last night? Albert Pujols, we talked about.
Yes. We've
Al-
talked about him before, because, I mean, go ahead, though.
No, you go ahead. You had your thought.
Well, listen, I think his first 7-8 years in the league were literally, and this is a bold statement, Lou Gehrig-like, Babe Ruth-like.
I
But,
agree.
But he signed that, 10-year deal, which was unthinkable probably, 8 years ago, right? So
7, 8.
they're paying him for forever. But I think it's time. He's hanging on, but he did. Hits a milestone, 3,000 hits, 650.
Becomes only the 4th major league player to do it.
Pretty decent company, one steroid-tainted guy notwithstanding.
Whose birthday it was on ESPN, and J-Lo came into the booth. That was
Yeah.
my highlight of the
course.
Yankee game.
Right.
So A-Rod, one of them, tainted.
Willie Mays and
Henry Aaron.
Hank Aaron. Yeah.
So they're the only guys, and now Pujols with 3,000 hits, 650 homers. That's some exclusive.
I know, but he's still hitting probably 235, 240, right?
I agree that it's time. However, he is raking in the dough.
I guess.
And he's going to stay there. And what are they going to do?
No, and I've always liked him. He's always been a model
Class
guy,
act, he
classy
certainly
guy.
has.
But it's time. I mean, it's time. Is he going to really hang on till he gets 700 home runs?
He could.
Not, if the Angels want to make a play, they got to start, cleaning out that old luggage. That's how I see it. But hey, tip my hat to him. He's been a solid player.
Right.
And the one goofiest thing I've seen in Major League Baseball was this Trevor Bauer, and boy, was Terry Francona not happy.
Exactly. So
Turns around, throws the ball into center field over the fence, and you even see his the shortstop or something when he came out and got him. He actually flinched and jumped. Didn't know if he was throwing
Crazy.
right. What do you make of that? I mean, he did apologize, and I'll give him credit for that. But I mean, come on, this is the major league.
Yeah, he looked completely childish.
Oh.
This was a little league game scenario where, you've seen bad sportsmanship growing up and kids that can't control their tempers, and then, you see this.
We've seen it before. There was a couple incidents. I think it was Fernando Rodney or something.
Sure,
and,
but we've seen the breaking of the bats and all the
Right,
other
Rob
the water
Dibble did it,
coolers. We've seen it all. But I don't think we've ever seen this one when a major league pitcher turns around as the manager's coming out to take him out.
I think Dibble did it.
And a very seasoned manager, by the way, a championship manager,
Right.
Terry Francona.
Boy,
And he looked so childish and ridiculous, and Francona was like,
Yep. It was.
"We'll talk in the office later."
It was bizarre.
It was.
It really was bizarre. So let's move on from baseball, and I got to give you kudos. You've been sticking with this Brooks Koepka, and I'm not dismissing how dominant he can be. But, we don't see him winning. He's got 4 majors and 3 regular PGA Tour wins. But WGC, and,
Yeah.
right, and St. Jude Classic is...
It's been a few months since Brooks has pulled off a championship or something, so you kind of forget. But no, I'm all in on Brooks Koepka.
I know you are.
He's fared well in the majors this year. We've talked about him. And listen, he comes back yesterday and wins his first World Golf Challenge on his resume, held off McIlroy and company.
Yep.
And
we were just talking about McIlroy. Like I said, I didn't realize how far back those majors were. This was 2011. It's been 8 years, and then he won one in 2014. That's 5 more years.
So Rory's got to be 31 or so, 30-ish,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Koepka's 29.
So you forget how fast time does fly. So when we looked it up, I mean, 2011, you blink and Rory's got 4 majors. We just checked that,
It does.
and he's been struggling. And we kind of talked before the show, just between us, and said, "I think he's going to win another one." But he's young. I would say he's absolutely going to win another one.
Maybe.
But-
Not with
but
the way he's
stuck.
been putting the past couple of years. I
But
mean,
he's stuck. He's hit a wall.
he has.
He's played good golf, but not championship golf.
So I'm guessing you're leaning toward Koepka to win the FedEx Cup kind of thing. I mean,
I'm all in.
How do
on
you bet
Brooks.
against him,
I'm
I
all
guess?
in on Brooks.
I know you are.
He'll be there in contention.
All right.
Yep. But Brooks wins one yesterday, so that's my guy.
Yep. That was cool. I like him. It's kind of beat. There's no more majors left, but we're gonna have to, get on board with this FedEx Cup, which is kind of hard for me to do. I prefer the
I
majors.
think this is probably close to probably the 10th year of this now.
Yeah,
I
it
want to
is.
say.
Right.
But
And guys like Snedeker won it, Rose won it.
Yeah.
It's just who gets hot.
it's like
you
10
know?
million bucks at the end of the rainbow too.
I know.
Did Jim Furyk win it? I think.
It's
I
quite
think Jim
possible.
Furyk won.
Maybe in the early
Like
years.
10 million. I'm
Yeah.
like 10 million.
With the money these guys are making in golf, it's crazy.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about something that rivals this before our show is closed. So, our next segment, sponsored by Di Filippi's Bakery in Monticello, New York. They've been with us for a few months now, and we thank them
Right.
as our sponsor. Let's go on to some college football because it's right around the corner. And I saw a couple of interesting things. We touched on it on our last show. We kind of mentioned, I like this guy Jonathan Taylor at Wisconsin. But it seems like a quarterback thing now, right? It's all about quarterbacks. And we were talking before about all of these transfers. I guess you can just transfer at will now, right?
If you can graduate on time, that's one scenario.
I don't know
Do
how
you
many of these guys
you
are gonna
want your
graduate.
graduate work. We talked about Russell Wilson, right, going from Wisconsin and North Carolina State and back and forth, and now we talked about Jalen Hurts now this year.
At Oklahoma.
Leaves Alabama, and all of a sudden you're now the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, like that. Justin Fields is a highly touted kid out of Georgia. He transferred into Ohio State, and we have several other examples of this. So,
Yep.
but
Who was the other one? It was a big one. It was Kelly Bryant when this Trevor Lawrence came on
I
the
was
scene.
just leading to that because the two best quarterbacks in the land are Tua at Alabama and the new kid is Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
So Trevor Lawrence is, I mean, God, what a season the kid had last year.
I know.
And you would expect him to be the bona fide number 1 pick in 2 years. He's got one more year he's got to play.
Yep.
And Tua, I think, will be a top 3, maybe the top overall player. We shall see.
You
But
think so?
I do. I'm extremely impressed with him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But those are the 2 best teams. We talked about it a few shows ago. We're not changing. It's Clemson number 1, Alabama number 2.
Yep. And everybody else.
You most likely can pencil them in for 2 of the 4 playoff spots. Most likely a rematch, and it would be for like the 5th consecutive year.
But we were also bringing it up. One of the top 5 preliminary guys is this guy Adrian Martinez from Nebraska. I swear he's been there for 6 years.
Right, we had this discussion. We negotiated down. I think he's probably going to be a junior, and he's one of those players. That all throughout the years when you're watching your favorite college team and you say I'm a Notre Dame guy, say they're playing Michigan, and I'll look at the Michigan guy and go, that guy's been there for 7 years.
Yeah.
Right? And what is he, a junior? That's impossible.
Exactly. But I just can't see. I've seen this guy play. He's a good quarterback. He's got some tools, but they were also
He's
0
a runner.
5 last
He's
year.
a runner, thrower. Scott Frost takes over Nebraska last year.
But in the Lawrence and
they were
Tua,
0-6 Nebraska at one point. So how good are we talking here?
I don't know. I'd like to see some other running backs, and like I said, I'm going to hold out hope for this Jonathan Taylor.
No,
He's a Jersey kid,
Yeah, he's been putting up great numbers.
and he's
at
got some
Wisconsin.
big numbers and stuff. So
Right? Is he going to break the Great Danes records?
it's a big record
It's
to
a
break.
big record.
Yeah.
But if he goes all 4 years there,
And who else? There was one other guy at Wisconsin they had that was up in the Dane category. Dane broke his records. Now I can't think of who it was.
like P.J. Hill or something like that.
Yeah,
They've had a lot of good running backs.
They have.
They got a lot of beef up front there in Wisconsin.
yeah. I'd like to see this kid Taylor knock Ron Dane off.
But I just saw in the news that Wisconsin and Alabama just decided to start playing.
Yeah.
They play in 2024.
Right,
I think that's pretty cool.
home and home.
home. I don't know when the last time those two.
You know what?
would have
This is
ever
kind of
played.
like interleague play. It's kind of time. Let's let the SEC and the Big Ten play and the Pac-12 and while we're on the Pac-12, I saw this. There's a lot of talk about the time-wise. So they're thinking about starting the games on the West Coast at 9 in the morning West Coast time, which would be a noon start.
Right.
What do you think of that? I mean,
If it gets more eyes onto their game, I believe.
I know, but what are
They'll
you
do
going to
that.
watch? I mean, is it because, Saturday afternoons it's SEC, it's Big Ten at noon, and then SEC at 3:30 every week, right?
Yep, and then the 7 o'clock Saturday night game, which is normally in Baton Rouge, or
Right.
Birmingham.
Notre Dame gets the 8 o'clock game, and then everyone else has got to. We're going to sit up and watch Oregon,
Yeah, but you have
Oregon USC
Yeah.
until 3 in the morning.
You got your pick because there's plenty. See the CBS Sports Networks, NBC Sports Networks, all those Fox affiliates. There's a lot to choose from on Saturday for
I
college.
know,
So you
so-
can watch college football literally from 9 in the morning till 2 in the morning.
I know, but I think that's a little. I think that's kind of disadvantageous to the athletes themselves. Actually, I
Well, we'll
think
see.
they're considering it though.
Well, we played at 9 in the morning when we grew up.
yeah, we weren't in the Big Ten,
So we're back on the couch by 12.
right?
So
All right, so listen, let's we got a couple other things here. And we got some feedback from something we don't deviate from some of the major things, but I think this was worth talking about because I don't understand it. Fortnite. Now you have a young son, so this means something to you. It doesn't mean anything to me.
it means dollars to me. But I don't, no parent.
And what is it? A pay for play thing?
Pretty much.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's an Xbox game, and
You don't just buy it
you
once and
play
can play?
against other kids, and you can get these levels. And once a word is out there that you need this, then they all go right to mom and dad and ask, can I have $35 to get this? So, et cetera, et cetera. So the tab just keeps running. It's become hugely popular amongst kids, typically, I want to say in middle school, right?
16 and under.
And
kind
in
of
the
thing?
high school with all the video gaming and everything. So it is a multi-gazillion dollar industry. And what's your question about it, or what's your statement on it?
Well, some 16-year-old kid wins $3 million.
Or geez,
And I get it. Listen, they sold out Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens,
at the
New
U.S.
York.
Open site?
And I guess tons of money was pouring in. So just to me, I'm a parent, but I didn't grow up with that, so I don't have my kids. When are they doing homework? That this kid gets so good at 16 years old that he beats
That ain't
1,000 guys.
homework? Nope. Okay.
I don't get it. The kid won $3 million.
So is that a sport?
It's
Gets to our question: is that a sport?
Sports/gaming,
Right.
I guess.
It's
I
like
don't
a
know.
hot dog eating contest.
Right.
Is that a sport?
Right, but we touched on it, right? Because
Right.
people watch it. I just thought it was, and I know, like I said, I know you have a son, and I didn't. I thought it was like Pac-Man. You buy it once, you put it in your Xbox, and you play.
So he just wiped out the competition and was the last man standing. I'm assuming.
Last kid standing.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
$3 million.
So you
And
got
people literally packed Arthur Ashe Stadium watching this.
On
I
a-
guess on big screens or something. I don't get it.
I would imagine that's it.
I know it's a sign of the times, and I know it's just a gazillion-dollar industry. It just kind of caught me off guard. $3 million?
It'll be 5 next year.
Pay out for the Derby and the Masters and the U.S. Open tennis. It wasn't even close to $3 million.
Right.
Crazy. I had to bring it up because I just
Okay.
perplexed by it. Perplexed.
Now you know.
Yeah, I guess. It's still not going to
You
make
have
me
a
run out.
grandson. He's going to be playing this stuff in a matter of couple years, most likely.
Oh, God, I dread the thought.
And now you can go to Arthur Ashe Stadium in the Bronx and pay $68 to park.
I want this kid to be a doctor, not a gamer. So, if he goes down that road and can make $3 million, then I guess I can't be dismayed by it. But
Right.
the concept of it
Blows your
it's
mind.
totally lost on me. And listen, one other thing, it's one of our loyal listeners, Mr. Diego Cruz. He's a soccer guy, but he's also a biking guy, and he's Colombian. So
It's
a
not a
Colombian.
sport. It's biking sport.
I've
I'm
always-
only kidding, Diego.
No, but I've had this conversation with him. I don't necessarily think it's like hitting a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
Okay.
And you made a funny crack when I said, let's bring this up, because it was the first Latin American guy to ever win the Tour de France.
Correct.
Youngest kid in
Of course.
110 years.
Okay.
And then when's the failed drug test gonna
Right.
come
When
out?
can we expect the false positive on?
Right, and I was reluctant to bring it up because of the whole everybody.
Lance Armstrong.
No, there was 5 other
I
guys. that
know,
all
but
got
it was
tainted.
prevalent. But Lance Armstrong was the king of the most deceitful, asinine douche of a person,
And I fell into that.
and
that
he got
trap.
away with it for quite a while.
Right.
But if you saw this documentary on him, HBO probably did it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 5 years ago.
It was so elaborate.
Oh,
and
my
so,
God.
It was incredible.
Right.
And I fell into that because I used to say, I think Lance Armstrong is one of the greatest athletes of my generation. And I find out he was dirty laundry.
Oh God.
Same thing
Filthy
with Sosa,
laundry.
McGuire, and
Filthy
A-Rod.
laundry.
And now I go,
And he was a terrible human being.
and then everyone that came after him, I mean,
Right.
there was a couple other ones that won it. and-
But the guy before him, Greg LeMond, when we grew up, Greg LeMond, when this would be on Wide World of Sports, nothing, and I mean nothing, was on TV.
Right.
And we're watching the Tour de France,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And Greg LeMond was a deserving champion of this. I think he won it 3 times, I want to say.
Is it because we didn't have testing as elaborate
No,
back
but
then?
I assure you, Greg LeMond did it the right way.
I hope so.
And Lance Armstrong tried to
Oh, God.
really, ruin this guy's reputation. And I tell you, he got his comeuppance, and Greg LeMond, I think, is sitting there laughing that Armstrong is broke and a farce, and his reputation.
And I
is
think it
tatters.
kind of diminished the whole cycling industry
well,
because
most
of it.
certainly
you know.
did, because
I mean, am I going to sit up and watch for 9 hours guys riding their bicycles up and down a mountain in France?
well, Diego is right, Diego.
they do.
Right.
Yeah, they do. But they're into it. But,
Sure.
But you're right. When is the test going to come out? It's
I hate to say that, but that's been
and I
the
hope not.
association with it.
I hope not.
I hope not too.
But it was. Listen, it's always a big deal. It gets a lot of press and a lot of TV coverage. It was worth mentioning. If we brought up Fortnite, we had to bring up the Tour de France.
That makes sense.
But I'm glad you put it into perspective with this Lance Armstrong thing, because it totally ruined it for me. Totally ruined it.
Me too.
So listen, my shout out for this week, and I wanted to bring it up, but you weren't here last week. I want to shout out, and again, consider it sport or not sport, the Apollo 11 crew. It
Right.
was such a monumental event, and it was
Achievement.
50 years and just technology and just a human. You know how many people had to be involved in this thing to pull this thing off, and they did.
By the end of the decade, too.
Right. Notwithstanding the critics that say it never happened, it was done on a soundstage, Capricorn One,
Exactly.
whatever. But listen,
Starring the Jew, O.J. Simpson.
and you and I, and we're so big on Neil Armstrong and who's it, Collins and
Yep.
Buzz,
Buzz and Jim Lovell and on and on.
Frank Borman, and
On and on.
but it was such a monumental thing, and I don't know that it's ever been duplicated to that extent. I mean, I really wish. I was kind of a skeptic in the beginning, going, what do we need to walk on the moon for? And from all of the things that's happened over the course of time, technology, and the information they brought back, it was because of that crew, and it was awesome, and I'm glad the country embraced this 50th anniversary and recognized how powerful a moment in mankind it was.
That's right.
Certainly for the United States, too.
So I agree wholeheartedly on that. So my shout out this week is to our family member, our nephew, one Brendan Monahan.
Oh.
So we have a nice announcement. Brendan has been offered by Rutgers University to leave Bryant University and take over as the pitching coach, recruiting coordinator under his current head coach, Steve Owens.
Yep.
So Bryant had a great year. Brendan's been there for
Three
probably
seasons.
3 seasons. They led the league in pitching, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Head coach Steve Owens is 54, career record over 900 wins, 400-something losses, has won everywhere he's been.
Was he Lemoyne, Cortland?
Portland and Bryant. And now Rutgers has a dynamic duo there. And we wanted to welcome back to New Jersey. Brendan just got married, and now I think he's going to be able to settle down. He's paid his dues, and we wanted to send a shout out to him.
Hey.
Well deserved, and congratulations.
He's got building up quite a resume, and I think coming home to him meant everything,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, coming back to New Jersey,
And playing
back
Big
to the
Ten
Big East.
baseball.
Is it
Big-
Big Ten or
Big
Big
Ten.
East? It's not Big East
It's
anymore.
Rutgers in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
Yeah, so top competition.
great for him.
So congratulations.
And listen, that doesn't hurt, from a recruiting perspective, to have a former Big East, all Big East catcher going up
In
against.
the backyard.
Yep.
So congratulations.
Awesome.
So if anybody wants to make a comment, wants to chime in, have an opinion, please send us an email, sportswithmono@gmail.com. Okay?
We'd
And
love
I
to
think
hear
that's
from you.
it.
We'd love to hear from
I think that'll do it for the week. We covered an awful lot,
you. Yep.
and I'm happy to be back and back.
Great
into
to have
the-
you back. Like I said, I'm nothing without you, partner.
All right, partner.
Welcome back. We'll catch up with you guys next week. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great day. Thank
You too. Bye.